Hi, I'm John, Sports Product Manager at Miller Electric. Today's video is going to cover the handle change on the Diversion 165's LS17 torch over to a standard handle. Now this video is going to assume that you've already seen the previous torch head change video for the LS17 torch. So if you haven't watched that video yet, we ask that you do go back and watch that video before we get started. Now I also want to point out that changing this torch handle to a standard handle is going to eliminate the ability to use the built-in hand amperage control on this torch. So we just want to make sure you understand that ahead of time. And again, before we get started, for safety's sake, we suggest that you have your machine shut off and unplugged from the wall. So let's get started. Okay, we've already removed all the consumables and the torch head from the LS17 torch per that previous video I mentioned before. We also pulled the torch handle up so you can see the power cable inside. That's just so that it makes things a little bit easier for us to get at right now. The next step would be to remove the thumb control pod from the torch handle, and we suggest that you hang on to these, put them in a plastic bag, keep them in your toolbox, anything so that you have them for later reference if you want to use this handle again. Okay, just set those aside. And now we're going to remove the 5 Phillips screws inside the torch handle. We've removed the 5 screws, and now we're going to separate the handle into the 2 halves, exposing the plug connection used for the fingertip control. Okay? We're going to remove the other half of the handle. We'll save those for later on. And we're going to unscrew the ball and socket connection at the bottom of the handle. Doing this will expose a twisted wire that holds the black rubber sheath onto the bottom portion of the ball and socket joint. Okay, now taking a pliers, just untwist the wire and remove it, and then pull both ends of the ball and socket joint off the end of the power cable. And again, save those for later. Okay, now what we suggest is you take the plug, fold it over, and push it back into the black rubber sheath. What this allows you to do is in the future, if you do decide to go back to the LS17 torch, the plug's right there for you to install back inside the handle. Next, take your Weldcraft WP Series torch handle, which is part number 105Z55R, which can be ordered from Miller through your local welding distributor, and slide it over the power cable, exposing the power cable connection. Then take your same torch head that was from the LS17 torch, screw it on the top of the power cable, make sure your connection is tight, slide up the handle onto the torch head. You can slide your sheath back up onto it, and there's your torch handle change. Now that you've changed the torch handle over, what I personally suggest is take your LS17 torch handle, reassemble it together again, including the screws and the fingertip pod, and keep it in a safe place, just in case you ever want to go back to it again in the future. Well, I hope this helped, and for more information about other Miller products or welding resources, please visit millerwelds.com.